Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I was and still am a medical doctor trying to pursue a career in acting and stunt work. Some of you might not know this, but my first introduction to the entertainment industry was at the beginning of the pandemic doing stunt work. And I'll talk about this in the episode, so you'll hear the whole backstory. So my guest this week is Andrew Butcher. Andrew Butcher is probably most known for his stunt work. He is part of what I call the royal family of stunts here in Canada, the Butcher family. His dad is Randy Butcher, who is one of the top stunt coordinators in Canada. But he's also an actor as well as a writer. So Andrew and I, again, like most people on this show, never actually met before. We've worked on the same projects, but never actually met in person, but bonded online over a love of skateboarding that he does actually, and I just watch from the sidelines and do the medicine for Canada Skateboard, but also, of course, stunt work that he does actually, and I just do kind of on the sidelines. For example, we were both on a show called Mayor of Kingstown. We talk about this. He did stunts, cool stuff, SWAT stuff you would assume stunt people do. I did what's technically a stunt and made an ambulance turn to the left. Anyways, Andrew is such an interesting, fascinating guy and is so much more than just the really cool stunts that he does. We talk a lot about actor mindset, first impressions that people make during auditions, and kind of like, I don't know, how casting directors and people who've written stuff already know what the actor that they want portraying their character looks like. And they are just hoping for you to walk in the door. He goes into detail into this wonderful concept in this episode. I'm so excited for you to hear it because it was really, really refreshing for me to hear. Please enjoy the incredibly talented, badass, brave Andrew Butcher. Story. So I know you-ish through the stunt world because you and I were on a show together that we didn't meet each other, where I did what was not technically a stunt because I just turned an ambulance to the left on a show called Mayor of Kingstown, where you actually did stunts. I just went like this.
Well, that's okay. We needed you.
Know,
Without
right?
that ambulance, what would be the sense?
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, my story. Okay. Well, first off, Mayor of Kingstown was an amazing production to be a part of. My dad, Randy Butcher, was the stunt coordinator of the first season, and it was. I mean, being a stunt guy's kid is nice in a lot of respects. I learned everything from the master. I've been doing it for so long, and then of course when Mayor of Kingstown came around, I got offered to be one of the regular recurring SWAT guys for the character Robert, who is the leader of the team in the show. So that was great. I got to work the whole show with a bunch of guys that I loved, and I got to learn a ton about tactical stuff, shooting guns, but clearing rooms and things. Some really deep learning that I have never learned before. I'd always used guns and these kinds of things. Learned a little bit here and there, but learning from some real SWAT guys, former SWAT guys out of Toronto, and Adam Winnick, who was my trainer, who's a Canadian sergeant soldier. I don't know what exactly you call him, but he's incredible. Anyway, to start at the beginning, I was very young when I knew that I would be an actor. I also wanted to be a comedian. That was like my life dream. I did do some comedy when I was younger, but I kind of steered away from that and ended up doing songwriting and other things, and am now writing. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but
It's okay.
But I think I was 13 or so when I got my first commercial. I auditioned and did. I had like a million auditions every week, and at some point I landed a role. Um, I did a few commercials as a young actor, and then when I was 15, I think my dad stuck me in a show to do my first stunt, which I don't even remember much about it. I think uh, I was just walking when I believe maybe it was my dad who played a character jumping out of a tree who tackles me in something. Um, and then after that, I have done all kinds of acting and stunts. I have lived most of my career doing commercials. Even now, I do most of the driving commercials that come to Toronto, or at least a fair majority of them. Um, oh my God, where am I? Where do I go with all this? I have so much that has happened in the last 25 years. It's crazy to even try to rehash all of it, but um,
What was it
hell,
like growing up with your dad? Like, what's it like growing up with a stunt coordinator as a father? My dad was a teacher.
well,
Like,
that's cool. I mean,
but it's amazing. Like,
see now in that respect, to everyone else, my dad was a stunt coordinator. To me, he was a
right.
teacher. Um, it was incredible growing up with him, but I didn't know really any different. The only time I knew any different was when I was interacting with friends or other people, only to learn that they don't necessarily know the life that I had, and
Mm.
it was a little different. Um, we would watch movies, and it would take 3 hours to watch something that's an hour and a half. He would pause, rewind, slow-mo. He caught every stunt. I was always impressed when I was young, and he would talk about stunts. I was impressed that he would see if let's say the stunt is that a stuntman gangster role of sorts goes through a window, gets they're in a bar fight and they go through a window. My dad would pause it and he'd run it back and say, "See, look, look, you can see where the window gets smashed by the special effects crew." Um, you know, and the stuntman's only still two feet away from the window when the window starts to smash. These kinds of things, and that's how I grew up. That was every day. It was constant. Movies, this, TV, that. So I was bound to grow up in this business.
Now, did that ruin the magic for you, or did that make it more kind of magical?
I think it embedded the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
the magic was embedded. I really don't want to picture my life without this industry.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, when you were 13 and you said I want to be an actor, where did that come from?
I think it just came from the same sort of. I suppose most of everything was inspired or motivated by my dad. I mean, even for my mother, she ended up opening a talent agency. She even did some stunts for a while herself before she opened the agency. Um, my dad's um, what do you call that? I don't want to say inspiration, but his push, or his what do you call that? What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. He just motivated my whole family sort of to do it. Both my sisters are involved with the film industry. My sister Kristen is also a stunt performer and incredible, and she should be here talking to you because she's got way better stories than I do. And my younger sister Randy Lee she lives in North Bay and is an art director. She just wrapped up. I guess a year ago, the most recent Resident Evil installment. She did all
Yeah,
kinds of work on that. All those sets were
yeah. I
built and
remember.
designed by her and stuff.
Yeah,
It's pretty
I
cool.
remember when that was shooting up here. Yeah, that was huge, huge,
Yeah,
huge.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was up there for
very
a little
cool.
bit doing it. Yeah, I
Nice.
get shot. I fall down. Yeah.
So, like, is there? So I've been told, and correct me if I'm wrong. You can excel at either acting or you can excel at either stunt work. And it's really difficult to have your paws in both
Who
places.
told you that? They're wrong.
I can't. I agree. But I remember, I think it was on a podcast, like an acting podcast. Like they were like, you can't, like you have to put your focus on one thing. And I was like, I don't think that's the case, especially in Canada where work is so limited. But how do you balance both, or do you still balance both?
Well, oh man, that's interesting. Interesting thought. Uh, I think that stunts and acting specifically can go hand in hand. I am one of a few stunt performers in Toronto who who actually act, who educated in it and practiced it and did it. Um, and I get a fair amount of stunt actor roles because of that. A lot of the time, I'm held off from doing other things on a show so that the stunt actor role is or so that something better suited in the stunt actor sort of situation is sort of pending for me.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that as an actor or a stunt performer, it's hard to um, get into those parts of the business because they don't work as often or they're harder to achieve. You know, you can be a crew member for 6 straight months on a show. For an actor or a stunt performer, it's you know, you get a one role and now you have to go back to the other job to continue trying to make a living and support your family or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that acting and stunting go hand in hand. I think that you're out there learning uh, certain physical skills to perhaps be both stunt or acting. The difference between stunting and acting, really, other than apologies for the dogs barking. Um,
It's okay.
I don't know. I think you can do both, no problem. I think that if you wanted to be a makeup artist and an actor, that's harder. Because if you get a makeup job for 6 months, you're not doing any acting. In the stunt world, they sort of go hand in hand. The only difference is that you just have to train in both. I think that's it. I think being on camera is all the same. It just depends on what your skill is. A lot of stunt
Hmm.
performers might say that it's hard to get into acting, or actors to say it's hard to get into stunting, and that may just be true for both. No, I think being a stunt performer and being an actor is exactly the same thing. You're pursuing a particular skill, and you're learning to be the best at it, and that is it. And if you land a stunt role, you land a stunt role. If you land acting, you land acting. I just think that most stunt performers who think that they can act can't act. I think that any stunt performer who thinks that it's hard to be an actor or it's hard to transition or something, that's because they think they can act, but they can't. That's it. That is it. Because at the end of the day, if your face speaks to the director, that's all that really matters first. Then you just bring the skill, you know. I always think like when I go into an audition, um, I'm pretty sure that when the director sees me, they already have the decision made. They see me, they go, I pictured a redhead. There's no sense in me even auditioning, but they're going to let me anyway. Because you never know, maybe I'll blow their mind or something like that. But usually the director has something, I mean, or the writer or whoever's involved, because they wrote this, the director's probably read the script 300 times and he knows his character already and he's waiting for them to walk in the room. So all you need now is acting chops if you are the one that the director has already sees in his head. If you walk in and that's him, oh my God, this is him. I hope he can act. I hope he can act. It doesn't matter if you're a stunt performer or a makeup artist or you work at a warehouse. If you walk in that room and the director sees you already in his head, you got that role. You just got to nail the lines. That's it. And I think that goes the same with stunts. Stunts isn't that hard. No, it's hard to make a career out of, perhaps, but it's not hard to like get a moment or something. If you are consistent with your picture and your resume and getting out there and saying hi and meeting the community, there's a good chance. I mean, somebody's gonna go, wow, Janet's height and hair and everything matches. I really hope that she can do what is needed to be done. And then that's kind of the idea. That's where you become a stunt performer, is just like that actor. As long as you got the skill, and other things come into play later, onset experience, this and that. But most coordinators, especially like myself or my dad, we're gonna help and teach you and make sure that the job gets done properly. I expect you as a professional to come out and be a professional, but if there's something you need to learn in order for me to get my job done, you fit the role, I need you, then I'm going to have you out, I'm going to rehearse with you, I'm going to do everything I need to do and make sure that it's executed properly. I don't know. Does that answer it?
Yeah, and I think that's so key to learn, right? As people who are either new to the industry or a bit kind of disenchanted with the industry, because I think we overanalyze how much either control we have over what we put out to auditions and stuff like that, and how much actually is influencing it. We're really, 100%. I agree with you. This is a visual industry. They're going to know, and we get told this a million times, but we never believe it because we like to think, no, it's all about my acting. Like, no. If you walk in the room and they're like, yes, that's exactly who I pictured in my mind. Because I think we as actors and stunt performers don't realize how a director or a producer or a coordinator thinks or a writer thinks.
That's right.
I think it's, and the more we realize that, the better off we're going to be in the long run.
I always look at my life or my career or everything I'm doing. If I'm meeting you today, I always try to look at myself from an outside perspective. Always. I always try to look at myself as if I'm in the room with the director or whoever it may be, and then go, well, what would they want to see me do? When I come in, how am I going to react, this and that? I literally picture myself, walk in the room, and if you picture anyone else but yourself, you will succeed at whatever that is that you're thinking. You'll go, okay, if they walk in and start itching their butt and scratching your cheek, it's already gone. But you come in with looking at yourself as a specific type of professional, and you go in and you emulate that. I never really went into anything as my regular self. My regular self enjoys whiskey and smoking a little weed. There's nobody out there that's trying to get me in their audition room. So when I get in the audition room, I put on a particular character, a particular professionalism, a certain way. I think that's just what you do. That's what you do when you put on a uniform. It's what you do when you put on a costume. So let's do it here. I'm trying to get something. I'm not trying to convince them that I'm there. I'm trying to convince them that I am the character that they want. Something like that.
Yeah.
Outside perspective.
and I think that's probably pretty hard for a lot of people in the who are actors. I'm just making a wild assumption, but I'm guessing it is, because we tend to be a little narcissistic, very in our heads, and we like to think of ourselves as being a bit different than what we actually are, right? Like I'm definitely guilty of thinking I can play XYZ character when they're like, no, Janet, you are playing the stressed out mom for the next 10 years because that's who you are. And like, that's fine, but that's totally fine. But I'm thinking, yeah, sure, I could be a 20-something in a CW series because my brain thinks I am that. But no, that's not true. But I think it's hard, right? You have to do that. You have to do that work. And it's it's vulnerable work, and it can be a bit kind of kick you in the butt. But you got to do it if you want to be successful, I think.
It is. I think you have to put all your eggs in the basket. It is what it is. I don't think you have to change your hair and change away and do all these things. But I really do think that you have to, like you said, overanalyze. We overanalyze other people, but people are doing the same thing with you. And you're going, well, no, I'm so calm and welcoming. Well, then so are they. If they're not, then they have a problem. You can't overanalyze. I think that if I were giving advice to anyone, it would be just to really think about what they're thinking when looking at you in sort of your own mind frame. Like, think about how you would think. I mean, if you're holding auditions for 20 people all day, you're not going to be a prick. You're not going to be, I don't know, try to run the show. I don't know. People are going to come in, actors are going to come in, they're going to try their hardest, and you're going to do your best as a director or a producer to achieve your goal. So you're going to try to get these people to do better acting, to be more comfortable, all the things that you wish you were doing as an actor when you walked in. Any director or producer in their right mind would want to have the best and most solid content at the end of the day. So they need their actors to relax, not be so nervous. It's all good. Read the line. It's all good. There's so many things, though, after 20 years of doing auditions and all kinds of crap that you just know. And that's one of them is I remember Renee Zellweger on Inside the Actors Studio said, in terms of advice to the young actors, was just remember that they're trying to sell a movie. It's not about you. And when you go in, it's not really about your acting chops so much as it's about them selling a movie. Can you sell that movie with your smile or with your acting? Which one is it? Whatever it is, they're trying to make money. You want to be in the movie. Sell them on you first, then go and be the best actor you can be. I don't know if that relates to even what I'm saying, but something like that.
It totally does. Well, I think it sounds like it's trying to align everyone's goals together, right? When I think I think we as actors tend to forget that, the goal of the director is to find the best actor for the part. The goal of the casting director is find the best actor for the part. So align your goal with that. They're not against you. They want you to succeed because they want to get out of this stupid room. They want to find the person. And if you're the person, they're like, yes, we found them. Done.
That's right. And if you're not the person, you shouldn't, people get offended. People get weird. They get down on themselves and they go home and they soak in that all night long. That the world, when you really understand what they're looking for, you realize that it has nothing to do with that. The only problem is that acting is a very difficult thing. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody, and I'm generalizing, but a lot of people want to be on TV. A lot of people want to be in the audition room. Very serious actors who spend all their money and time on learning and being the best. It's disappointing to not get something or to do 100 auditions and hear a million no's or 100 no's. But at the end of the day, it could have just been your hair. If there's 100 people auditioning for all 100 of those auditions, the chances of it being you are really quite crazy and slim. But that's also the beauty of it. When you nail it, you're the one who did it. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Has there been anything that has surprised you about the industry being in it for so long? Anything that's been a bit of a shock?
Surprised me. Not anymore. No, nothing surprises me. No, I mean, after being in it for so long, I guess no, nothing surprises me, but it, there are certain parts of it where you kind of, you're like, oh yeah, okay, well, it's magical in one sense, and then in another, it can be a very tight community, and whether it be the stunt community or acting, and I'm sure all the other crew members feel the same way, that you see the same people over and over again. You do a lot of similar work, or same crew members, same producers, same sort of people. And after a while, you go, well, uh, some of the magic is lost in some of these. I don't know. I don't know how to say it, because today I'm still excited about doing it. I love doing the work so much, and there is a whole lot of magic in it. And if that's what you thought there would be when you started, it's true. It's true. There's so many great things when you start, and as you continue along the road of being an actor or a stunt performer, you start to see bigger cameras, crazier things. Oh, the special effects, like, oh, I was there when they exploded the car, yada yada yada. So all these experiences start flowing in, and the magic it continues to be there, and nothing. I don't know. Surprise. I don't know if there's anything that surprises me at all about this industry. It continues to floor me, but like any job, you start to meet certain people, and you go, oh, they're on set again, or whatever. I don't know.
So I have to ask this question because I get asked this a lot.
Okay.
And my answer, so the question is how do you get into stunt work? And my answer I literally was in the right place at the right time. Like, I know that sounds cliche, but I was standing there, and they said you, and also it is about who you know. And I don't mean that in like a nepotism way, but it's in a safety way, right? Like with stunts, especially.
Yep.
If they know that who you are and that you can do this safely, they're going to keep you in the tight-knit community, because safety is such a huge issue. But so from your end, being way more experienced than I am in this stunt world, and again, how would you answer the question? Again, I get asked this all the time, and I need better answers. How do you get into the stunt world? How do you get started?
Well, number one, it takes a whole lot of passion, a whole lot of ambition, and a whole lot of not giving up. I think that with anything, before I talk specifically about stunt work, with anything, persistence, like the constant desire, the constant need. I'll tell you right now, if any stunt coordinator was annoyed that you walked over to shake their hand in the middle of a stunt, whatever, and they'd say to themselves, I will never call this guy who just interrupted me, whatever, if anyone actually does that, and you walk up to them and try to shake their hand the next time you see them, and then the next time you see them, and then the next time you see them, they actually start to realize how serious you are. I don't know what coordinator has to be that way, but that's the worst example. In stunts, usually, unlike me, who was born and raised in it, I learned from the best. I got to learn from so many veterans and guys that I mean, when I started doing driving commercials, I was in my teens. I was in my teens learning how to do this stuff, and I was learning from guys that were in their 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who had been doing this forever. Not to mention, a lot of them are former champion racers and, all that kind of stuff. Um, and so for me, it was one way. I could have either sat around, played video games, and did nothing, or I could ask my dad, how do I do this? How do I do that? We sparred. We did all the things growing up. He taught me some martial arts, and it taught me how to fall, and I do fire, and we do all kinds of crazy things together. Most stunt people, of course, don't get to have that experience. And what it really takes is athleticism. Usually it comes from a very specific sport. Usually someone's in a sport, whether it be martial arts, gymnastics, or they're a professional skier. If what they bring, if when they attempt to make their name in the stunt world, usually it's asked, what's your sport? What can you do that I don't have already in my roster? We got 100 guys in Toronto that are the best at all kinds of things. And you don't really have to be the best all the time, but it's understanding certain things and having a certain kind of passion and ambition for something else that proves that you will have it here. It usually takes an athlete, and then it just takes a picture and a resume and constant persistence and a desire. Man, that is all it takes. I think it's like anything. You can't become a stunt performer today. You can't just dive in and pay the bills with it today. You have to earn a whole reputation. You have to earn word of mouth, trust, safety, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But if you do want to become a stunt performer, you're not entirely sure how to just come in contact with some of these people. Usually you can do something like call ACTRA, the Performers Union, ask them for the hot list, which you can usually find on their website, or talk to them about how to go about emailing a production, perhaps. Excuse me. And I would email a production with my picture, my resume, and a very short stint about myself. And I would ask that production forward this to their stunt coordinator. And that's it. At the end of the day, your picture matters. If you say I'm 5'8" or whatever, and I have this kind of hair, and I do this, and I have these skills, they may turn to someone they know and trust first. But if they can't find that person, or that person's unavailable, that's where you get to swoop in. And then that's where you earn your spot. It's a slow game. But if you're persistent, it's like anything. If you're persistent, somebody's bound to hear about you, get to know you, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think what I've noticed in the whole entertainment industry, but stunts in particular, like what you were saying, is that these people, stunt coordinators, are humans who like human contact. It's not mind-blowing, but it kind of is for some people who don't really know how to, I shouldn't say know how to network, but like the fear of networking. Like, what's the worst that could happen if you send out an email to some stunt coordinator? They're not going to email you back and be like you were saying, how dare you? You are on my blacklist.
Yeah, there's no way.
No, like, there's no way.
Never
These
gonna
are
happen.
nice people who are interested, and just like you were saying with directors and writers and producers, they want to find the best people for their job.
That's
it
right.
makes them look good.
That's right.
Yeah. I think people just need to get over it and be
there's
humans and communicate with other humans.
100%. When you're in a role like that, I understand that there's a lot of ego or whatever. A lot of people let this kind of success go to their heads, and I don't know. That happens, but that's them. And it's funny because when you get to know these people, you just go, that's them. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're thinking real, they want you. It's exactly like the audition. Someone like my dad gets asked about becoming a stunt performer by somebody probably every single day. It is crazy. The amount of emails and stuff that he gets is unreal. So it's like the auditioning process. If you're serious about it, it'll show. It'll show. And there's a lot of you there, but I don't know, if you do the work and you're serious and whatever, you're gonna work. It is what it is. You just have to be persistent. You have to work on it like any craft. You have to shake hands. You have to get out there. You got to know people. You have to have good timing. When to say something and when not to. I mean, that's usually pretty easy for people to sort of figure out. But I always picture it like when I was young and you want to walk up to a girl and ask her out or something like that. It scares the living daylights out of you, whatever. And if she seems just as weird or something when you do it, it's probably because she's feeling the same way you are. It's not because she's weirded out by you. That's the first assumption. Oh my God, she's barely talking, Well, no, it's because she's also nervous. She may be so glad you came over. It's the same thing with coordinators, directors, this and that. Maybe they're not as nervous as a girl, or 16-year-old girl or whatever, but they certainly, it's always awkward meeting someone for the first time. But after chatting for a bit, this and that, you can make some headway with a lot of these people.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about a time I was just doing some SSE stuff, and I got a text message from the stunt coordinator being like, after the day was over, being like, "Did I see you on set today?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was doing XYZ. Why didn't you come over and say hi?" Look, I didn't want to bother you.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Come over and talk to me.
I get it. I get it.
Won't make that mistake again. Yeah, but it's weird how we forget human interaction, right? We forget that there's humans too who just want to say hi.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard. The personalities are so big sometimes on set. Yeah. And you don't know where you best fit. But that often is how it happens. If you audition for something or you're going out for something, and the director doesn't vibe with you for some reason because their interests are just completely something else, then wish yourself luck. It's easier for somebody to hire somebody that they know that they're going to get along with or have interests in or similar interests, this and that. There's a director out there for everybody, let's just say. That's what I say. So when persistence is key, because eventually you'll come across that person. I do believe that luck plays a huge role in pretty much everything we do. And so when it gets into something like this, it might seem like luck is a bigger deal. But really, it's just that acting in stunts is it's a costly business. You have to work and pay for it. And it's kind of heavy. It's damaging to yourself if you keep hearing no and you're spending thousands trying to make it happen. So it's hard. It's a devastating industry to some degree, but it really isn't personal. It's not as personal as it may seem.
Yeah. Tell me about your most memorable on-set moment.
Oh, geez. Most memorable. I was kind of thinking about some of these questions because I get asked them sort of kind of often.
Mm-hmm.
But most memorable, I don't know if I've ever had. But okay, one of the most memorable I ever had. Well, I'll decide on whether I want to actually say the production name or not. But one of the most memorable for me was the time that I had the biggest fuck up in the world. It was the most embarrassing, terrifying thing ever. And to make a, I mean, I guess we're here to tell stories, but to make this one kind of short, um, I had, okay, whatever. I'll just tell the story because it's hilarious. I was out working on something, fortunately for my dad. Um, I work for a lot of stunt coordinators, but I do work for my dad the most, or with my dad, which, if I was going to sum it all up, my most memorable times ever are working with my dad and working with my sisters, and even my mother. It's all this is working with my family is one of the coolest things in the whole world, and I get to do that
So
pretty
cool.
often. Um, but anyway, I'm out with probably 30 other stunt guys, and a lot of them are doing some killer work, especially in cars. Um, um, when I had a moment where I had to, they had a Hummer who was flipped. The Hummer was earlier flipped that day by my cousin Blair, uh, where he's going off. He hits a barrier on the side of the highway, flips the Hummer, and it lands sideways on the off ramp. Okay. And it's now blocking the off ramp, and all these guys are supposed to get out and start shooting at the cops. I'm one of the cop cars. I'm the first guy out of three to do a little 45-degree sort of a skid up to a stop, and then I'm supposed to get out, draw my pistol, and start shooting back. And I go to the back car. Two other guys have now landed behind me, and we're all out of our cars supposed to be shooting. Before we got to this shot, the special effects guy that day told me that I have something like 100 or 150 squibs. You know what a squib is, obviously.
I do, but tell the audience, what is
Sure,
a
sure. A
squib?
squib is basically a little remote electrical, I don't even know what you call it, explosion, I guess. It's a blood pack. So when you see a squib, when you see someone get shot in a show, that's a squib. It might be CGI or something like that, but back in the old day, for sure, it was a squib. And they range in different sizes and this and that, and so they'll squib up the hood of a car, and you can see, you know, and it's all detonated by a special effects guy that's behind camera somewhere. So that day, I had 100 and 150 squibs or something on the hood of my car. And then, as the machine gun like squibs go like this up my car, when they get to the window, of course, they can't put squibs on the window because you can see the squib through the window. So what they do is they have this little cannon that's beside me on top of the center console, and these little pellets that I think are glue. I could be crazy, but I think they're glue. It's just a clear glue, and when they get shot at the window, it looks like little bullet holes, right? So the effects guy that day told me that I have this cannon, and it's going to shoot all kinds of pellets at the window, but to be careful, because if my hand is in the way, I'll blow my hand off. Whoa, right? So as a stunt guy, one of your things is to sort of hold composure, and you know, you can compose yourself when others can't. You know, there's a certain degree of that, I guess, that you learn. I mean, nobody wants to fall down ever. Stunt guys fall down for a living. And you have to make it look good. You have to make it look like you just got shot or you're dead or whatever it is. And so in a case like this, I have to be able to handle or time myself correctly where this cannon doesn't hit my hand. What I'm trying to say is that I have to put my hand over the cannon to grab the stick shift. I'm doing one of these around the cannon to grab the stick shift to bring it up into park so that I can get out of the car.
So you can, okay.
But I had a bit of a freak out moment, and I was nervous about that cannon. I was really nervous because it was tight. It was tight getting my hand down in front of that cannon to put it into park. So when I stopped my vehicle during the shot, and we only have one of these hoods full of squibs, we have one shot to do this. I went to reach for the shifter, and I basically didn't do anything. So I left it in drive, and I had a cameraman who I've since become friends with because of this, sitting in the back seat. I get out of my car, notice immediately, I already knew what I was doing. As I was getting out of the car, I knew I left it in drive, and I thought to myself, I can't put it in park now because that cannon's about to go off, and I don't know when it's going off. I was having a day, and I got out of the car kept going, and I'm going, oh my God, I'm swearing, fuck, and I'm running after the car, which is heading toward camera. There's a camera guy in the back, and it's about to go off a ditch. Okay, like an off-ramp ditch, like that grassy little knoll or whatever you want to call it. And fortunately, I got squibs blowing up in my face. I can't see anything. I got black, I don't even know what it is, like a tar type of thing blowing up in my face, and I can't see anything. I'm just freaking. And my dad happens to be down that grassy hill. He runs up the grass, opens the passenger door, dives across the cannon. He doesn't know the cannon's there. He dives across the cannon and puts his hand on the brake. And he just lays there while the front right wheel is pretty much hanging over the ditch. That car would have just, oh my God, Mike in the back would have been in a bad place that day. Oh my God. So anyway, I ran over, I put the car in park, and the effects guy that day ended up telling my dad, he said, you know, when I saw you dive into the car, I thought to myself, I should stop everything. I'll stop the cannon. I'll stop everything from going. Because the cannon would have blown his stomach open.
Oh my God.
To me, that day is incredibly memorable because it could have gone so wrong, so much more wrong than it had already gone. So that's my biggest embarrassment and fuck up. And for everyone who wonders what it's like to fuck up and get any work after that, you do. It doesn't matter. All I had that day was stunt guys telling me about all their fuck ups in their life, yeah. You know. So it was incredibly embarrassing, and it took a while for me to even want to talk about. I don't care anymore. God, it doesn't matter. But I would say that is my most memorable day on set.
Yep. I think you win. That sounds like it's like meta. Like it's like a stunt within a stunt. Like you would see that on a show as being like,
yeah, maybe
it was meant to happen, right? Like, holy crow.
Yeah,
people, I don't think people realize what goes in to the stunt community and the fact that that you are all human. I mean, you train and you train and you train, but shit happens. And holy crow.
Yeah.
Can it happen? Wow.
It can happen.
Wow.
It can happen bad, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think it also comes into the fact that like it's not just you there. You are surrounded by a team of people, you know, like your dad and like other stunt people and stuff like that to work together, and you're all in it together, right? So
yeah,
holy crap.
You know, I'm always thankful that my dad was the guy coordinating that day because it was
Mm-hmm.
easier for me
Mm-hmm.
to handle.
Right.
He was thinking about his son. If it were anyone else, who knows? I could have gotten mega shit. I could have been yelled at. I'd have
Right.
no idea. But
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what? In some regards, I wish it was someone else so they could have yelled at me, bitched at me, and told
Hmm.
me I was worthless, just so that I can learn from it, build from it. You know.
Yeah. On a more optimistic, happy note,
Sure.
is there anything that you're looking forward to this year? We keep being told it's going to be so busy in 2022. Anything you're looking forward to?
Well, I think I'm looking forward to a bit of a transition into the writing world. When you first asked me about being on your show, um,
Mm-hmm.
my understanding of your podcast was that you were interviewing people who sort of had another career, another job, and then they wanted to push themselves into this sort of line of work, acting,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is awesome. I've been acting forever, and while I still love acting, and I certainly love stunt work, um, I want to be a creator. I want to create TV, and I've been writing for years. I never went to school to learn it formally, but um, I have a lot of onset experience. And then on top of that, I've been studying it. I've been studying this craft for many, many years, and I have a few hopeful future sort of prospects that I won't talk about just in case they don't happen. But um, yeah, I want to make a transition into writing and
Cool.
producing and directing and this kind of stuff.
That's
That's
so
what I'm excited
exciting.
about.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And that comes from, do you think, again, just always being a creative? Do you think? Like kind of that
Yeah, yeah.
underlying,
My
yeah.
I grew
Mm-hmm.
up in a small city, and I didn't know many people like me. The people that were like me were my family, and it sort of happened with my dad too. He grew up with these incredible ambitions, and a lot of people said he wouldn't do it, and a lot of people said give her. He did it. He raised a family of artists, and it is what it is. My younger sister is this brilliant artist. Uh, I am a musician and a singer. I'm a writer and actor, and I everything. That's where I'm supposed to be. However that is, whether I'm broke or I'm loaded rich. It's one of the two. Um, yeah, my dad was more than a stunt guy growing up. I never really pictured him as a stunt guy so much as I pictured him as a filmmaker. He talked about directing and writing probably more than he did stunts. He used to say he wanted to be an actor, but he was a gymnast and a martial artist. And when you put them all together, you end up with a stunt guy. And so that's where my dad went. But he's a brilliant writer. He's written and directed, and he's produced. And so I grew up with a creative mindset, not a stunt guy mindset. It's like it's in there, but yeah, creative. It's all I want to do.
Any final words of wisdom? This has been filled with words of wisdom. Any final ones?
Words of wisdom. There's so many things that I'd love to say. I'd like to go back to just persistence and confidence, and um, realistically, a lot of people that want to do this don't live near a beautiful city like Toronto, where the industry thrives. A lot of them are from Saskatchewan or from overseas, or can't get out of their country, or they can't whatever, and it becomes harder for people like that to get into this industry. Um, but if I'm speaking to people like that, I would just say reaching out, finding somebody you can contact, and don't stop contacting. If somebody like that contacted me, I would do my best to give them the best kind of advice and help them any way I could. Um, and I think most people are like that. Most people, even if they're in something like my dad's position, where they're just, they've done it for so long, they're the best. They don't have to do it anymore. If they do, whatever. Someone like my dad would give those people all the time of the day. And I think that persistence and passion is key, and to accept the fact that you can't learn anything in a day. You cannot learn anything in a day. We all walked before we ran, and we had to run before we did anything else. Everything takes time. Be patient. Do it every day. And whatever you wake up, whatever gets you out of bed, that is what you're meant to do.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Andrew, for being my guest this week. He wins, right? The best, most terrifying, horrifying on-set story. Like, my goodness. I was just thinking, I don't know who can top that, but I have a couple more stunt performers coming up who have also terrifying stories. They would have the most terrifying stories of being on set. Stunt performers are so cool. I hope you'll tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.